Hello, everybody. I'm your host, Zenitsu, and you're listening to the Digi Talks podcast, the show that covers various news from topics and meta developments and everything in between for the fine folks who love the Digimon trading card game. Just as a quick reminder, I do stream this live over on twitch.tv/Zenitsu. It's also uploaded as a YouTube video under the channel of Zenitsu, on top of being on various podcasting platforms like Spotify for your viewing and listening pleasure. Please feel free to leave a rating, like, follow, subscribe, review, whatever, depending on the platform that you're listening on. It really does help support the channel. So today I am with a special guest, and it is the ever so community fan favorite, famous, almost number one TCG player in Digimon, Dan Vang. And we are going to be talking a little bit about our Digimon journeys as far as where we started to where we currently are. There was a bit of a meme template that was floating around, and I thought it would just be a fun idea to kind of build that in podcast form. But before that, Dan, if you want to actually introduce yourself so the audience knows who you are, because I think this is the first time I've had you on this version of the podcast.
I think so too. Hi everyone, Dan Vang. Like to play fun decks. I like to. I voted for this, and I like to tell people that I love Digimon, which is the truth.
Yeah, because we've both been playing since the beginning, right? I can't think of a
Mhm.
moment where you weren't not necessarily in opposition, but you were in the community at the same time I was. So we
Yeah,
both
I know.
got yeah, so we both got a lot of TCG Digimon experience.
Oh yeah.
But before we get into the main topic, we actually have two events to go over. That's right, it's a double decker. I'm going to be going over them a little on the quickly side just because it is two events. And this is the first foray into EX6. So we had TAC, which is Oceania Regionals, and we also had Core North American Regionals. The TAC Regionals was a little bit on the smaller side, 65 players, 6 rounds of Swiss. Top 16 archetype breakdown is as follows: 5 Mirage, 3 Nume, 3 Magnamon X, 1 Tyrant, 1 Belfi, 1 Yellow Vaccine, 1 Grace Nova, and 1 7 Demon Lord. As far as what won the event, that was Mirage, followed by Tyrant, Mirage, Nume, Magna, Belfi, and Magna as the top 8 respective. And then going from 9 to 16, we got Mirage, Yellow Vaccine, Grace Nova, Mirage, Nume, Mirage, Magna, and 7 Great Demon Lords, just sneaking into that 16th place. As far as new decks that entered the meta compared to, BT 16, which literally just happened, we have Grace Nova. So Grace Nova, this is a pure Grace Nova deck because Japan has been experimenting with Grace Nova with a couple of different top ends. It really goes to show that the engine, unchecked in the right hands, is kind of cracked. Have you been experimenting with the Grace Nova engine at all, Dan?
Not as much, but I've seen a lot of players use that engine really well.
Yeah, I'm nowhere near as giga brain to be able to pull off this style of deck because it literally uses Coronamon and Lunamon out of raising to basically float into another rookie to then just start almost like building and then reverse building and then rebuilding the stack to be able to line up a whole bunch of extra inheritables and uh, basically keep turn and build whatever mega you want however you want it. It's kind of crazy.
Oh yeah.
But congrats to that person for taking 11th place, doing well with Grace Nova. I know the deck has lots of strengths between different top ends that it can play, and Grace Nova being a relatively hard Digimon to get rid of. And then the other noteworthy deck is Belphemon. Belphemon, we've seen this before, but it is always interesting when it pops up. It's basically 8 Ukamon Gizumon engine, and then Dark Masters, with some Belfmon obviously into the mix, and it's just trying to use Apocalypmon. It's an Apocalypmon deck disguised as Belfmon, and it's funny. I like it. So those are the two noteworthy decks from TAC. And then switching gears over to the North American side, which both me and Dan participated in. This one is a little bit bigger of an event. It was 359 players, 9 rounds of Swiss, top 16 archetype. Breakdown is as follows. It is 6 Nume, 3 Imperial, 2 Yellow Vaccine, 2 Mirage, 1 Tyrant, 1 All-Force, and 1 7 Great Demon Lord. As far as top 16 goes, Imperial actually won this event, followed by Tyrant and All-Force, then Yellow Vaccine twice, Nume, Mirage, and Nume. That's top 8 as far as the rest of it from 9 to 16. It's another Imperial, double Nume, Imperial, Mirage, Nume, 7 Great Demon Lords at 15th, and then Nume to close out the top 16. So, if anyone is curious, I actually was the 8th place Numemon. Yeah, I know. I posted it on my community. I posted it on Facebook. Um, and Dan, how did you do?
I believe we got 62nd using Black Mimomon.
Hey,
My
top
records were
64.
good as, yeah, we weren't as good as yours, but we made it there. Um, it was a fun event. Played against a lot of great players. I will say, it get cooked a little bit by birds.
You saw birds?
Yeah, in the fifth or sixth round, I can't remember off the top of my head, but we tied. But I think if he had maybe like 2 extra turns, I would have been cooked.
Okay. Because I saw a pretty diverse spread of decks myself. The tie that I got, because my record was 7-1-1, and compared to the rest of the people who had 22 points, I was just the worst of them, which is fine. I'll take it. Got me 8th
That's
place.
okay.
My pricing is literally no different than 6th place, so I'm
Hmm.
okay. But yeah, my tie was to Yellow Vaccine. I probably could have tried not necessarily playing quicker, but like being more aggressive. I think I was a little bit too passive in one of my games, just trying to make sure I was stable, taking as few risks as possible, and sometimes it just doesn't work out. And then my loss was to the Nume Mirror. He just completely out tempoed me because he saw the key cards he needed before I could, and I had to try to do something. And yeah, it was a pretty quick set of games. But I actually did better than the person that I lost to, so I'll take that as a consolation.
Yeah, exactly.
So what kind of fun decks did you end up seeing in that event?
My first round was Dark Knightmon, and I was like, I gotta go fast. I'm not trying to get whooped by Dark Knightmon. I think every format Dark Knightmon has that chance to surprise people.
Yeah, because nobody expects like semi-invincible blockers. It kind of falls apart to like alternative removals, but against any deletion-based removal, it could be very difficult. Plus, Digivolve is super obnoxious.
Yeah, and I think realistically, right, a lot it's more of a rogue deck than a meta deck. A lot of people don't know how to play against it. Every time I play against Dark Knightmon, I know how Dark Knightmon works, but I need to ask which one it is. I always forget which one that gives the sec +1, which one the digital, which one pops the 4 cost or 5 cost, right? So I gotta ask just in case.
Yeah, which is never a bad thing, especially in webcam tournaments, because we can't just pick up the other person's card and be like, "Hold up, this does what now?"
Yeah,
So, yeah. What other surprises did you see?
that was really it. Everything else was pretty on brand, like Blue Armor, Black Nimblebon, Yellow Vaccine. Um, Everything else was pretty much what you would expect in a Imperial Dramon, right? A Mirage. Like, what would you expect in the typical meta format right now? Birds
Right.
and the Dark Nightmon were the only real refreshing. taste.
Yeah, so your two big surprises was Birds and Dark Knightmon.
Pretty much.
My surprises was Beelzemon, like pure Beelzemon. That deck caught me real off guard.
Don't
Um,
sleep on it. They can get rushed now.
so the idea that the person I was playing against, he was the person that I think at Nationals got top 16 with Beelzemon. So I knew he was a good player, and
Yeah. Don't sleep on him, man. He's probably the best Beelzemon player I know.
yeah, so he taught me a lot because of like how he was using his level fives because he had the new EX6 Beelzemon in his trash, and I'm just like, okay, I want to delete your level five. And then I'm just like,
And he
oh
got rushed.
shoot, I can't because that's the new Beelzemon, which will de-digivolve my Digimon, which will really screw with me.
Mhm.
So
Exactly.
yeah, it was just making like the new Beelzemon, even though that's like the only real card the deck got, it really can help a lot, especially with utilizing the level fives, especially the like BT 10 Balmon, because it just swings mills three on top of whatever other mill triggers you have, and it just always has the on delete effect. So he just sits on the level five unless he wants the level six, but could just play the Beelzemon and then it just has rush, and then he just goes ham. And I was just like, oh crap. So he managed to take a game off me because uh he had like full unga bunga like BL's combo to just burn all my security, and I couldn't really stop him because if I did, I'd anti tempo myself. So he caught me into a trap in a sense. And then my
That makes
other big
sense.
surprise was Seven Great Demon Lords. That was the only like I can't really say off meta because it's now meta. But I faced against that round one and I was able to handle it very well for what Numemon does because Numemon's just hyper aggressive. At least the way I play it. So, you mentioned a little bit before that your deck was similar to mine.
I tried to defeat. They're okay. They weren't that great, honestly. I think sometimes they were just dead cards in my hand, and I was like, I don't need these. Um, Other than that, I think it was pretty much a typical build, right? Most of the builds are very similar in aspects.
Yeah, like it this is going to sound really weird, but I think Numemon is in the same type of position that Red Hybrids was in, where it's like the build is fairly known. There's not a lot you could do to change it, and you have like maybe four cards of like flexibility to what
Hmm.
is reasonably acceptable.
I agree.
So it's just a highly optimized list at this point. And my tech card was Omnimon Merciful Mode. So that was my big surprise. I decided to cut the Shine Greymon Ruin mode. I felt like every time I was using it, it just felt like a win more card. And I don't know. I'd never seen a like this is the defining moment because of Shine Greymon Ruin mode. Half the time I realized like I don't know if this is what you realized, but the secret to Numemon is actually in Monzemon X Antibody. At least that's the conclusion I came to.
Correct. If there was a card to limit the deck, it'd be Monza X easily.
Because every time I won the game or lost the game, it was because of Manzimon X Antibody. I either find it and I could use him to just gain so much advantage and removal to just control the field and dominate at the same time. And when I didn't see him, I noticed I was like struggling real hard at certain times. And then in obviously in the mirror, one of the key reasons why I lost the mirror was because I didn't have an answer to his Bonsai X. So his Bonsai X could just sit there and answer everything that I played as I play it, which was
Yeah,
pretty unfortunate. So, but yeah, Manzaimon X is the secret to why Numemon is so good, at least in my perspective.
I agree with you with the Monza X. I still run Shine Greymon. I think Shine Greymon's a great card. Definitely helps me against the Mirage matchup, especially when they don't have anything 6K or higher in the back. I'm like, all right. If I get ruin mode, I don't lose, even though you
Yeah,
have like multiple tamers, multiple trainings, and everything out.
yeah, it's just a guarantee win button, which is never a bad thing. It's just I wanted to try to tech for the meta, and I was just like, okay, I know Seven Great Demon Lord is the new hot popular deck. I know Numemon is also pretty good. So what's a good card to handle both of them? And then I was like, oh, Merciful Mode. And then Merciful Mode just happens to have some like really funny interactions with other cards in the deck too. So like I didn't do this in the tournament because it didn't come up, but I have done it in practice multiple times where it's just like, okay, here's a Valk play that's gonna shut my opponent off, and then I'm going to Digivolve into Merciful Mode. Then if they don't respond to that Merciful Mode, it pops the opponent's security, and then because Valk now saw the security popped, he either gets to pop something or just gains security attack plus by the time I'm starting my turn. It's real funny. It's like the safest way to get his ability off. So it's a Valk by the time the security is being removed.
I see.
And then Valk
Cool.
says when a security is removed, which Omnimon just did, trigger the
Mm,
ability.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so it was just a fun little interaction that didn't come up in tournament, but did come up in practice. Because I saw Omnimon like actually way more than I want to admit, and he did help in certain situations because like he also just has some like really funny weird plays that might seem really bad, but like again, it comes up in practice sometimes where it's just like I'm gonna use Manzemon to shove underneath a platinum, digivolve into another level 6, either platinum or Valk or whatever, and then digivolve into Omnimon, and then now Omnimon can pop two things.
Pretty damn
So
good.
yeah, so it just goes to show that like Numemon has some like really weird flexible plays to be able to make some cards like that even better.
Yeah, I think it's like we talked about, it's pretty solid for the core of it, but you can add your little splash of flavor on what you want.
Yeah, because the Numemon that I lost to, they were not running Edamon, and instead they were running Raiji Ludamon to basically accomplish the same thing as Edamon and give your Manzemon extra protection. So it's just like I'm gonna
Sure.
pay the two, shove it underneath, goad your Digimon, and then I can still make my ace play. So it was pretty cute tech. It didn't matter a whole lot because against like the mirror, if I was able to respond, I could have like Numemon and minus DP'd or like alternative removals, kind of just ignore that card. But some extra protection plus another way to goad is not bad.
Doesn't hurt.
So yeah, those were our runs and some brief experiences that we had in the tournament. A lot of fun. Um, and it was definitely, at least on my end, nice to see a lot of diversity because I think I only faced one deck twice, and that was Yellow Vaccine, and I can't even say that because one was a 3 grade angel and the other was no, I did see two Magnamons. I saw two Magnamons and 1 grade angel in terms of my Yellow Vaccines. Outside of that, I faced
Okay.
all different decks. So people are
Still
definitely
pretty good.
playing.
You got that variety, right? So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, people are definitely playing the variety. And it's nice to see. I don't think outside of literally 7 Great Demon Lords, none of these decks are like actually new. Shout out to Martin Lee for winning or like topping again with All Force. I don't think anyone can do what he does. Um,
Best all force player. This dude's a monster.
yeah. So I'm just happy I didn't face him. Otherwise, that
Yeah.
probably would have sucked for me. Because I was putting a lot of pressure on myself because I really wanted this invite. Like, I'm not a consistent player by any stretch of the word. I'll be able to maybe once or twice a year get into top 8 or top 16. But yeah, I've never actually won a tournament, and I don't win very often. I just know a lot about the game and can perform relatively well on average.
You got the Omni now.
Yeah, now that they are offering serial Omnis, I got that. So if anyone wants to buy it from me, I'll sell it for a good price. So, this brings us to the part where we're actually going to be talking about our Digimon experience because BT16 is the new hotness. Um, or like not BT, well, EX6 is the new hotness, but EX6 as of right now in these early results don't really show that it's having much of an impact. Maybe a tiny bit of an impact because like Ragnarlord's a pretty okay deck. Mastemon got some nice tools, and that was kind of like Numemon, very steamrolly. Once you get going, it's really hard to stop. But getting going is the hardest part with that deck, which is why it has some issues. And then Seven Great
Mhm.
Demon Lords right now is the only thing that has tops that was new. So, but yeah, me and Dan, we've been playing Digimon since the beginning. So we're going to take this time to kind of build out this whole meme template, which is going from each of the different sets to kind of cover what decks we generally played and why we played them, I guess. So starting with BT1, Dan, what'd you play?
Blue yellow. I would say if you needed a picture for it, I would put Slash Angemon as the picture from BT1. Or is Slash Angemon from BT1?
I think so.
I don't remember. BT1, yeah, it is BT1.
So, because I knew, like back then, Slash was like the best counter because the opponent would just leave their Digimon suspended and Slash would just have
Mm-hmm.
enough DP reduction to be able to reduce it and swing over it.
Correct. That's exactly what I was doing with blue yellow. It was a blue rookie champion base with yellow top end, so it would be the rookie rush Gabu Gomamon, the inherit Gomamon, the Leomon that gains memory, um, Gorillamon, right? All the cheap rookie rush stuff that everyone thinks of in the early blue format. And then the level fives were Sirenmon and the Magna Angemon that recovered one. And the rest of the level sixes was Slash Angemon and Kantarusmon. So that was pretty much my beginning build. And then after I forget where I got top 8 or top 16 in one of the PBG events, um, that's when Tyler and Trey from my squad, GFG, um, we were all talking together and we all were like, oh, and then they had like little text to improve it. Sure, it was like adding Gaia Force in it. But I think at some point I started adding puppet mons too. I think one of Tyler or Trey told me, and we added puppet mons to it, kind of call out more rookie rush decks and things like that. It was a fun time. So definitely blue yellow. Good holds a special spot in my heart.
Uh, yeah, my like Special Booster 1.0 deck was actually what I called Titamon Lock. So it was just trying to use Lilymons when attacking inheritable ability to suspend the
Hmm.
opponent's Digimon down and then have a second Titamon to be able to beat it up because Titamon like Green has had the ability to like move really quickly up its evolution stages, so there
Mm-hmm,
wasn't a whole
mm-hmm.
lot of removal in the game back then. So I would literally just sit on one Titamon, build really quickly to a second one, and then just basically try to beat up whatever they play as they play it and bully them out of the game. That was my Special Booster 1.0 deck. It worked sometimes, but it definitely had its issues, and Omnimon was definitely one of those issues. And then I ended up swapping over to, I believe, Blue Omnimon because I'm a bigger Garurumon fan than Greymon fan. So I liked what Blue was doing more than Red, even though Red had better control tools. I was obviously the more aggressive player, and that's what Blue tended to do. But yeah, I was just trying to like Titamon lock the opponent out, and that was the majority of what I did on BT in Special Booster 1.0.
Awesome. I also played blue yellow because I couldn't afford the Omni ones at the time, so I was like, I'll just play something else.
I had all of the stuff because I was able to get a case of 1.0 and 1.5. I got basically a case of everything all the way up until like BT12. So I had the
Amazing.
ability to. It's just I really didn't feel like I wanted to. Like I don't know why I wouldn't just play the best deck, but I guess I was just still figuring out what I wanted out of Digimon, and I just didn't want to play, what everyone else was.
Yeah, that's okay.
So going into Special Booster 2.0, or not 2.0, we're getting that later.
Yeah.
1.5, there we go. What'd you play in 1.5? I already know the answer, but
So it was a progression. So before what you think I played, I played Red Omnimon because I was able to trade and get at least three of the regular Omnimon that we all know, the BT1, and I was able to get one Ultra. I think that was what it was. I know one Ultra. That's all I remember because I think most decks were running two to kind of counter Rookie Rush. I only had one Ultra. So I played Red Omni. I won one tournament. Is it a box tournament? It was like a mat tournament, some other stuff. But it had like over 100 people. I won a tournament with Red Omni one. I was like, this is great. And then I was like, I want to play something different. And obviously, that led me to Old Reliable. Well, it was new for me. Imperial Dramon during that time.
yeah. And that's basically what a lot of people know you as, is like the premier Imperial player.
Um,
So did you play anything else in 1.5, or was it just Red Omni and Imperial?
I would say that's pretty much what I played. I stuck to those. I think I tried a little bit of the Rookie Rush. But I was like, I'll just stick with Imperial.
Yeah, I was really high on All Force at that time. Just because I liked the idea that I could just be like, yeah, I'm gonna swing a whole bunch of times in a single turn. Blue still had some of the best card draw, in my opinion, and like it was just a super fun, cheeky deck. I know I messed a little bit with Shine just because like I always want to try to understand what the control decks are doing, and sometimes you just need to try to play them to get it. Whether you're good at it is to be determined. I was not. But I did mess around a little bit with Shine. Didn't have much success there. And then I think I also ended up playing Imperial as well. But I believe I was mainly on All Force at the time. Just because
I see,
blockers
I
were
see.
different, and like I had good tools to be able to handle them and try to OTK.
Makes sense.
So moving on to BT4, uh, what'd you end up playing in BT4?
Do you want to guess what I played in BT4?
Just more Imperial.
It was Imperial Dramon with Lobomon.
Oh, that's right,
Because
because that's when we first got
we got hybrids.
hybrids. Yeah, that's the hybrid for game meme. That's when it started, and there was only a
Hmm.
Goonie and
Yes.
Lobo.
Yes.
Oh, good times. Because
Hmm.
Because at that time, I was really afraid of Nidhogg, and then we learned really quickly Nidhogg wasn't a problem. So I was actually on Yellow War Greymon at the time. I swapped off because I felt like Yellow War Greymon was doing what All Force was doing, just better. So I was just on Yellow War Greymon just because of that. The multi attack, the removal combination was just insanely strong. Blinding Ray to be able to just accelerate your game state. I didn't have
Yes.
any hybrids just because the colors didn't line up. But yeah, I also tried um, All Force with Lobo as well. Not as successful because my tamers needed to be suspended. But I definitely tried it because it was just a natural progression line. It's like, hey, this Digimon cares about tamers, so does this one. And then
Yes.
what I ended on was actually Ancient Garurumon because we got the promos when we actually needed the promos to come out. So this was one of the
Mm.
few instances where we got the promos on time and Japan technically got them later. So I was real high on Ancient Garurumon as well. I've been fiddling around with that deck for a while because it could use a lot of the Gabumon stuff, but it's still like it didn't have the push and punch that it needed. But it was definitely like one of my pet decks of that format because of the promo Lobomon to warp up into a Ancient Garuru.
Yeah, the promo logo was pretty cool.
Yeah. And then everyone remembers and is terrified of BT5. So what'd you end up playing in BT5?
I actually played Imperial, but with Nidhoggmon this time.
Yeah, you were on the Nidhogg Spice because you were already in blue and green, and Nidhogg countered Rookie Rush, I believe, right?
And Lord Nightmon when they overextended,
Yeah. Because didn't you
which was
win a tournament
nice.
with that?
I did. I did.
I remember. Everyone was just like, what is he doing? And then I'm sitting here and I'm like, he's probably the smartest player here.
Nope. Just a guy who listens to other people and was like, I will try it. And it worked out.
Yeah, because come BT5, I honed the Ancient Garurumon deck as best as I could. I had some okay results with it because we got the Gabumon package, and hey, Ancient Garurumon has Garurumon in its name, so we had some of the better searchers. Blue had some of the best draw and aggression. So that's kind of where I started the format. And then I ended it on Rookie Rush because I was just so sick of Lord Nightmon. I'm just like, look, I'm just going to beat Lord Nightmon out before it can start doing its thing. So I
Mm-hmm,
was
mm-hmm,
on Rookie Rush, and BT5, I actually won one of the bigger tournaments because at the time I had to choose between playing in the Grand Prix for the All Force prizing or play in a
mm-hmm,
store regional, or like not store
mm-hmm,
regional, store championship to get the invite to play in Nats, which was the
mm-hmm,
first Nats, which was online. And I chose to
mm-hmm.
play in the bigger tournament rather than the smaller tournament, and I won the bigger tournament, but because of that,
Mm.
I missed out on my opportunity to go to Nats.
You got the Grand Prix All Force, right?
I did. So
Yeah.
people might not know this, and I'm not ashamed of it anymore. I was actually the first Digimon player to get banned. I was banned because Bandai was still figuring out all of their rulings for events. I was streaming content, and I got into an argument over whether I can stream or not. And the TOs reported that to Bandai, and I was banned for like 3 months, which is why I couldn't play in any tournaments at that time. And it really sucked because I lost more opportunities to get to Nats. And then the first tournament I come back to was the Grand Prix from the same TO that reported me to get banned, and I immediately got like second place winning the All Fours, or I was in top 8. I don't remember exactly
Yeah.
what, but it
Yeah.
was
All the prizing was the same for top eight. It didn't matter if
yeah.
you won or got eight.
Yeah, so I think I was like in fifth or sixth place. It's you could go all the way back on my YouTube channel and see what I actually got. Because being in the game this long, I have a pretty good record of when I did stuff. So I know that's a video or a community post or something. But yeah, I immediately like took top 8 in that, just coming back fresh off of being banned. And that was probably my greatest redemption arc I could have ever hoped for.
Pretty
Um,
sick.
yeah. Uh, which leads us into or EX1 and BT6, because EX1 at the time really, compared to a lot of other EX sets, was like borderline awful. It almost impacted nothing at all outside of Cool Boy, or no, Analog Youth and um, Ice Wall. That was pretty much the main meta relevance that set had. which was crazy at the time, like thinking about it. Um, because that set had like almost nothing good. Machine German was too new, didn't have enough tools to actually be a thing. And BT6, we already knew that the best deck was Bond of Friendship.
EX1, you mean?
Yeah, because everyone was playing for Ice Wall, and that's when Bandai realized maybe for Ice Wall is just not fun.
So what did you play for BT6 or EX1 or both?
Um, for BT6, I was on Bond, not because it was the best deck in the format, but because I was really into Garurumon stuff at the time. Obviously, testing and playtesting the ancient package from BT4 all the way into BT5. Just because the multi attack was like really good at the time, and he was one of the best decks to be able to do it with, especially efficiently enough. So I kind of was just trying to play the ancient package with the bond stuff more than just pure bond because I had the opportunity to evolve traditionally if I wanted to, or I could, just take the liberties on having two separate warping points. And that was kind of like my whole shtick with what I was trying to do in the Bond deck. So, what
That's
did you
pretty
end up
cool.
playing?
So I will say the BT6 slash EX1 era, which was very short, was probably one of my more better, luckier performing formats. BT6, I believe. BT6 was when I won a region with Jessmon,
Oh,
and
that's right. Jessamon
then
came out then.
a week or two after, I won with Lord Nightmon, which everyone was like, "What?"
Yeah, because everyone
Um,
wrote Lord Nightmon off because of Jessmon and because of the Bond decks. Just moving faster and actually having removal for it.
yeah, because this was still BT6 before EX1, before everyone started getting a bunch of ice walls and such. So
Right.
it was, so I was able to take it with Lord Nightmon. It's funny because the only reason I won with Lord Nightmon that tournament was prior. I think either the day before. I think it was the day before because this was the Sunday tournament. The Saturday tournament, I played Mastamon, and I got wrecked. So Chungman and Medbay were the ones who were like, "You should just play Lord Nightmon. Here's a list." And I was like, "Okay, I'll just make this list and play it." And then, luckily enough, I won that. So that was BT6. Come EX1, right? EX1 was so short. EX1 was literally like Nats format, and then nobody wanted to play again because of the four ice walls.
Yeah.
EX1 was a unique time because also it was the Nats format, right?
Yes.
I played five color Agubond for that short time period.
Really.
Mm-hmm. That is the one where I got top eight at Nats because I ran Madoki. Was it Madoki Betamon? Was Madoki Betamon? Yeah, it was Madoki
Yeah, Madoki
Betamon,
the Floodgate.
Terrormon. Yeah, and Terrormon as the floodgate for my blue green colors.
Okay. Yeah, because I know, like you did well at Nats that year. I just couldn't remember what you played because we really didn't start getting good data recording until BT7.
Yeah, then I was lacking a little bit. You had to like find people's like YouTube profiles and like, oh, I promoted in this and or I topped this or did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, five color Agubond favorite,
Yeah,
and
and
it was
then
because I only took the X1 and practiced with it because other people were practicing like Danny and Ethan and Varney and some other Giovanni and some other people. So I was a believer after they were winning and topping with it. So I was like, all right, I'll take it.
yeah, that's a deck that I probably would have liked to play. I didn't because I was focused in other areas, and obviously I didn't go to Nats, so I didn't feel like I needed to really hardcore prepare for anything. So that's why I was off in my own little world at that time, just toying with the ancients.
Yeah, that's all good.
So
Now we can move to BT7. When did you come back? BT7 or BT8?
I mean, my ban was lifted in BT5. I didn't really take a break at all. It was just
Mm-hmm.
I was unable to play Nats, and like you said, EX1 was basically Nats format because it was one
Yeah.
month long and all of the cards were legal, and I was not at Nats, and I it still haunts me to this day that that's the first Nats is the only Nats that I wasn't able to go to because the prizing was so good for that event. I was so jealous.
Mm, was pretty good.
Yeah. And BT7 was everyone knows it is a hybrid format. It's notorious for being one of the worst metas in the game. It was also another incredibly short format, thank God. Um because it was basically red or yellow hybrid or bust. Like there wasn't a whole lot of wiggle room looking back at the data, and I 100% was on blue hybrid. Not again because of it was the best deck in the format, but because it already just aligned with what I was playing and how I was playing.
Fair. I was playing red green hybrid and ancient Garoom on blue hybrid for fun. And then after losing many times to Chungman, everyone reverse engineered his list, and then and it became the blue hybrid we all know. Blue hybrid's pretty definitive for BT7, so that's a pretty easy pick.
Yeah. And then BT8 is
Mm-hmm.
when things started opening up a little bit, or at least the illusion of it, because it was like one of the few times the community was just like, all right, new set, we're actually going to try to play the new decks. Like, we acted like
Yeah,
Japan for a minute. Um,
yes,
until EX2 came around, and then we were just like, oh, right, Blue Hybrid is still the best deck of the format. We'll just swap back to that. But BT8, I obviously started off with Imperial because I needed to learn how DNA worked, and it was the better of the two DNA decks. Sorry, Mastermon stands. Mastermon was not that good.
not yet anyway. But yeah, BT8, same thing, starter Imperial Dramon. And why wouldn't I play that?
You were just looking for an excuse to play Imperial again.
Oh yeah, and that was the best time.
Yes, the DNA, like the fact that we learned that DNAs were basically treated as a new Digimon while being able to stay on the field so it could attack was like the greatest
Yeah,
feeling ever, and we all thought it was like the best counter to blue hybrids, and then blue hybrids was just like, I just wait a turn. I don't know what you're talking
yeah,
about. Damage wasn't in crazy
exactly.
high, so they literally just waited a turn and then just unlocked you again out of the game.
Exactly. For EX2, I played Imperial Dramon, but I think one of the tournaments, I think I got top 16, but I was teching in the red plugin and the Magnamon, so I was trying to call it five color Imperial because I had the Blitz Omni as well.
Okay, yeah.
But then then I went back to Blue Hybrid like everyone else. Way
Yeah.
more.
And then there was like some weren't there like some blue green hybrid or yeah, blue green hybrid.
Yeah, people were trying that for a little bit. It was very interesting.
Yeah, just because of how DNA worked. It's just like let me just use both of the low end for hybrids to be able to consistently go up into DNAs because I don't need to worry about my level 3s at all. So it try like they were just trying to use that to fix their colors to make DNA better. That
Hmm.
was real fun. I didn't
Yeah.
experiment with it at all because I was just on Imperial still. I think I was on Imperial, and then I maybe swapped to Gallantmon for a hot minute in
Blame
EX2.
you there. Can't blame you. That was when all the new support came out.
Yeah, because Gallantmon, like, I have this pattern of like aggro control decks are just some of my favorite, where it's just like I could be hyper aggressive, and then for being hyper aggressive, they just give me control tools that just are free. So usually those are the decks I generally like to lean towards. If anyone's trying to depict me as a player, that's just what I enjoy. So going into BT9, that was the X antibody era. And I, of course, being a big blue stan, was 100% on um, Melga. So this is the Melga X everyone loves to hate. because Melga X was the second best deck in the format for quite a while. He was just a very strong deck, and I was looking for longevity because I wanted to not constantly build a new deck every single format. And he looked like he was the best one. We all thought that it was going to be Alphamon, which I did toy with Alphamon a little bit. I still have it built, but Alphamon ended up getting that limitation, and he was
Yeah,
still successful, just greatly reduced in his success capabilities.
yeah. BT9 was my Imperial Dramon build. I went to Gen Con, so I did Imperial Dramon for a while, and then I pivoted to Alphamon, which was so busted because I think I top 16 with Alphamon because let's be real, Dora Gray was too good. It was just too good. You could do so much with it. And then after it got limited, I went to Melga as well.
Right. Because it's like Imperial, but in one
Yeah,
Digimon.
yeah, correct. Less pieces.
Yeah. Well, it's weird because it's technically the same amount of pieces because you still ideally want to find two level fours, but like it has the flexibility where you don't need two level fours. If you find the God stack, you find the God stack.
Yeah, yeah, and Cool Boy kind of enabled a lot more too, right? So
Oh
there's
yeah.
that.
Cool. I think literally like thinking about the timeline so far, I think Cool Boy was like the biggest power shift in terms of search capabilities. Like sure, in BT, I think it was like BT6 or BT7, we had the boost cards, but they weren't fighting for deck space like Cool Boy was. Like Cool Boy was like you needed to run this to make your deck hyper consistent versus the training cards which we've always kind of just ran as a two of. It's just like, yeah, it's nice, but it's not nearly as efficient as a two cost searcher.
Yeah, way too good.
Yeah, and we had analog youth in EX1, but again, it wasn't like this 4 of because of the whole filling up the trash, which was counterintuitive to a lot of strategies. So, like, they were just seen as more tech cards until BT9 when everything was X antibody, and that's why Cool Boy was, like, a demanded card.
Yeah, Cool Boy was too good.
Yeah. And then going into BT10, um, this was the cross era or the start of it.
Hmm.
So cross hearts was something I was experimenting with, but I was still competitively on Melga. I was just like I was flip flopping between the two, and I'm just like, you know what? Screw it. I already know the ban and limit is coming to Shoutmon Cross 4. So is there a reason for me not to continue to play Melga? And Melga was still one of the better decks of that format. So I was just I had it built. There was no reason for me to change.
Yeah, I think those three decks I played was Crossheart, then Jesmon GX, right? Jesmon with the GX, and then Melga.
Yeah, because in BT10 we got the new Jesmon starter deck, so that gave Jesmon a whole new wave of like love,
Yes.
which is why we thought that Savior Huckmon was getting hit because of the starter deck coming out. Which I mean, it would have been a really good card with the starter deck, and as we see now, it's like it's not busted, but it's still impactful.
Yeah, it's impactful for sure. And then, after the BT10 format, we had the short-lived EX3 as well, right?
Yeah, because EX sets, I hate how they do this. I've been on the record multiple times. They always do like this feast and famine situation because of when EX sets come out. It's like EX sets will literally come out 1 month before or 1 month after a main set twice a year usually. So like we get one format that's like 4 months and then another format that's 1 month, and it's just like can we like
Hmm.
spread it out a little bit better? Like it's not hard, right?
Yeah. So would you play for EX3? Melga again?
Yeah, it was Melga. I wanted to toy with the idea of Examon, but
Mhm.
I think I was still just on Melga and I was still playing around with Cross Hearts. I think maybe this was when I started to pay attention to Blue Flare.
Mm.
Um, was in EX3 just because, like, oh, the format is getting a little bit on the wider side, and Blue Flare takes advantage of wider style decks similar to Blue Hybrid. So I was just
Yeah.
thinking about that. I wasn't like really on it because it was still lacking some support, and it was just more this cute little package. But I was on. But those were the three decks I was like flipping between.
Yeah, for EX3, it was pretty much Melga and Virus Imperial for me.
Yeah, EX3 had Virus Imperial. Did you
Hmm.
were you able to get the EX3 version to have any level of success?
No.
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 Oh,
It was okay. It was okay.
what about now?
It's better now because we have the Shadramon promos. Much better now. I
Yeah, plus
think for this one we can blast Ace, right? With and we have Davis Ken. So we have a lot more tech that we can put in to help us.
yeah. But before we get into BT16, because that's quite a while's way in the timeline, we got
Mhm.
BT11. Uh,
Yeah.
BT11 was another Nats format, and it was basically I had to make the complete swap off of anything that I liked because I was borderline forced to play um, Black War Greymon because Black War Greymon X Antibody and all of the new Black War Greymon stuff from BT11 was just that good. So
Yeah, that's format for me. I played Crossout for a little bit, right? And then I played Grandis at Nats, thinking I could counter Blackboard Greymon. Didn't work out.
yeah, I did a lot of testing with both Melga and with Cross Hearts, and I learned very quickly that Black War Grandma just eats them alive. So I'm just like I guess I have to give up the decks that I like. And I didn't do insanely well at Nats. I think I literally was in top 100. But yeah, I was just on Black War Greymon because that was the first time I was like actually forced, it felt like, to play the best deck rather than I just incidentally played one of the best deck, because usually like a lot of the decks I play aren't necessarily the best. It's most of the time it just so happens to be in the top.
Mhm.
And then BT12 to me was just as miserable for different reasons. Every time post Nats, we usually get something banned or limited, and obviously in BT11, Black War Greymon was just that much better than everything else. So he got the axe, and in BT12, we had Hunters come out, we had Beelzemon X, we had the Beelzemon starter deck. So it was looking like it was supposed to be another pretty wide format. And during that time, I was playing Red Hybrids because Red Hybrids in BT12 got some new waves. I tried Hunters. I didn't enjoy the flow of Hunters. I felt like the resource management game was just not my thing. So I just devolved back into good old aggro, and Red Hybrids definitely looked like it was a really good and strong deck.
Yeah, yeah.
What'd you
Uh,
play?
for me, for me, BT12, I actually got second at the core TCG regional with the most busted deck during that time was Beelzemon before I got limited and nerfed. I was like, I'm just gonna play this reckless deck. It was disgusting, and I was like, this has no business being this good.
Yeah, it was not necessarily high rolly. There was a little bit of high roll aspects because of the mill.
No, it was
But it just had
really,
so much mill that it didn't matter.
I kid you not, I rolled so many matches. It was disgusting. I was like, these imp bonds milling three more, they have to go. Which obviously did get nerfed. So I played Imperial for a little bit, the new BT12 Imperial stuff, which was okay. So I pivoted back to pretty much using the old stuff with like the new BT12 Imperial fighter mode that was pretty much Nidhogg. So I like that. That was nice for Bandai to do that for me. And then I played Old Force during that format.
Yeah, I stayed on Red Hybrids through EX4, and Red Hybrids was the deck that got my invite to Nationals that year. I was not expecting to do as well as I did because there was still a lot of like really powerful counters to Red Hybrids, keeping him in
So,
check. And I was just like, look, this is just a lull period where maybe I can just catch people off guard and maybe my matchups won't be absolutely piss poor. And they weren't. And I attributed a lot of my success to the fact that I didn't see any of the bad matchups. And I was just like, yeah, I got as far as I did because I didn't see the bad matchups. I don't know if people just weren't playing them because at the time people were also experimenting with Machine Dramon, which was a huge hard counter to red hybrids. Like it was
mhm.
borderline unwinnable. Um, and yeah, I was just like, this is the one opportunity I have to maybe have some success with red hybrids, and I managed to get my Nats invite off of that, so that was kind of cool.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, I kept Old Force for EX4 since that was a shorter format too.
Yeah, and then
What
going
did
into
you did you
oh yeah,
sorry, go ahead. I was gonna say, yeah, what did you play for PT13 then?
that's when I made the swap to Mirage. Again,
Mm,
not because Mirage was the best deck, because Shine Greymon was supposedly the best deck, and he was, but the margin wasn't that much larger compared to the second best deck, which was Mirage. And Mirage, again, was one of those decks that just fit my playstyle. I just naturally go up into my evolutionary line. I just swing multiple times, be hyper aggressive. Because I'm blue, I have good card draw and memory generation. It was just, for me, it was just almost the complete package. And it felt pretty good. And I enjoyed that deck, and I still enjoy the deck.
I played the same. I played Mirage for a while till I got a little bored, and then I switched to Crossheart. But those were the two BT13 decks I played.
Yeah, Crossheart was definitely interesting at the time. Um, it's not like because in BT12 he got his last wave of support, and BT13 it was just another aggressive style deck. Like there was nothing really wrong with it because I think like BT13 to me was the pinnacle of Bandai's understanding of their power dynamics, because even though we all looked at Shine Greymon as like this broken and busted monster, he really wasn't. Like I have the metadata if anyone's curious, go look it up on my channel. Like his margins were not that much larger compared to some of the other like best X margins. And
Mm.
that was the first time that I actually felt like I could kind of play anything I want. Granted, I was still also meddling with red hybrids because his best matchups or like his worst matchups started disappearing. So red hybrid was also still doing relatively strong. So I was like flip flopping between those two decks. I mostly landed on Mirage though because it was the better of the two decks at the time. Um, because it was just the new hotness. Burst mode was absolutely kind of busted, and even though he didn't have like his perfect tools that he has now, there again it was a little bit of a slower paced game, and he was basically just doing the same thing as all of the other burst decks, but better for the most part, outside of
Yep.
Shine.
Yep. Yep. Definitely Mirage Burst. Definitely helped out. That BT13 style for sure.
Yeah, because the BT11 Mirage is just such a busted card. Like that card's so good, it's
Oh
insane.
yeah.
And it finally gave me a reason to use the card. Cause uh cause yeah, EX4 we also had some tools for Mirage. So it was like almost a deck, and then BT13 is what really brought it home.
Yes.
So BT14 EX5, what'd you end up playing?
But for BT14, I pretty much just played mostly Mirage. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm pretty sure I just played Mirage and I pivoted from Mirage and All Force. But those were the two blue decks I really just interchangeably played. I played Red Hybrid for a little bit, and that was it during that time. EX5 we can get to in a second, but we'll just talk about the BT14 first.
Yeah, BT14, I was still mostly kind of like you, just on Mirage and Red Hybrids, because, again, Mirage just seemed like it was able to stand the test of time. It was still doing well in Japan. Not that Japan was
Yep,
influencing my decisions at all, because our
yep.
metas are slightly different, especially with all of the uh, promo differentiation and when we were getting things banned and restricted. I just felt like there was no real reason for me not to play Mirage because BT14 started Lugamon. I was playing Lugamon, but it didn't have that same level of consistency and like the dopamine rush that I had with Mirage because they're both
Yeah,
OTK decks. They're both dog decks, but it just didn't really feel like I should have swapped off of it.
that
So
makes sense.
yeah, which then going into EX5, I that was Nat's format, so I had to try to figure something out, and I ended up bringing red hybrids because that was the wave of purple. I thought about Lugamon real hard. Lugamon was like my pocket deck that I was like playing with when I wasn't playing red hybrids or Mirage, but I was just like, I gotta bring red hybrids back. Crimson Blaze is just too good of a card to try to counter Anubis.
Yes.
So that's why I played red hybrids in EX5. So what did you end up playing in EX5?
I played Guru Beelstar, which I should have just taken that to Nats instead. That was so much more fun than playing Alphamon at Nats.
Oh, you played Alphamon at Nats?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Did you get any help from Lychee at all or no?
He's literally the reason why I played it. I'm like, if Leechy can do it, Leechy can do it, I can do it too. He was making me believe, and I was like, I'm not Leechy. I was like, I shouldn't play this deck.
Right.
I was like Alphamon and Leechy's hand, and like Ulforce and like Martin's hands are like amazing. In my hands, not as much. I was like, dang it.
Yeah, big brain decks that really take a lot of time understanding the matchups and fine tuning the builds. Because, like, even if you look at Martin's Ulforce deck from this past event to when he last topped with it in BT16, you could already start to see he was changing some stuff around. So he was definitely going into the lab, doing some cooking, and that is a level of dedication that I do not have towards one specific deck.
Yep.
And you really have to
Props to them.
understand that if you're going to be like a deck loyalist or deck specialist.
Oh yeah,
But Beelstar Garuru, I know
super fun.
I know a lot of people were on that. I think at the time I was actually practicing with Tyler. Um,
He's the reason why I was playing it.
Yeah, and he was partially the reason why I settled on red hybrids because I had a pretty good matchup into it. I think I lost to one in like one of the later rounds
Mhm.
because like they were just able to find their stuff and do their combo and I was just like I got nothing. Do it.
Yep.
Go ahead, end me.
Yeah. Yeah,
Uh
that's how it is sometimes.
but yeah, that deck was pretty gross cuz I
Hmm.
it could just do so much for so little. It was crazy.
Yeah, and that's why we got them limited. The Guru engine. I mean,
Yeah. Well, also like in Japan, All Force was using the Guru engine. Like literally, if you were purple or blue, you were using the Gurumon engine, and it was actually a problem.
exactly.
Yeah. Which leads us into BT15. So this was almost a format past. Technically, BT16 is the format past, but usually we like to lump EX sets with the latest
Mhm.
BT set. So, what did you end up playing in BT 15?
I don't remember specifically what I played. I was having like a deck identity crisis. I'm sure a lot of players have it, right? Format changes, you're like, what should I play? What should I do? And nothing was connecting. But for me, I, I don't know. I'm pretty sure it was Tyler and a bunch of people just convinced me to just play Numamon, the purple Numamon. And luckily I won, was it Core TCG Regional? I forget which regional I won, with purple based Numamon, not black, in BT 15. So I was like, okay, this I guess this is it.
Yeah, because I know in BT 15, uh, you and Tyler both did really good with purple based Nume.
Yes. As you can
And
tell, a reoccurring theme is kind of
yeah,
pushing
like,
me in the right
hey, I
direction
test
to
with
play
my
a deck.
friends, and we end up finding some good spice.
Yes.
Yeah, and oh God, well, I believe I was still on Red Hybrid and Mirage. I think I was more on Mirage than I was Red Hybrid because deletion based stuff was like really bad. Like I was testing around with the Crimson Blaze Yoko egg, or no, Crimson Blaze Gigi egg to try to out um the Divas stuff because Divas was absolutely huge. But I think I just ended up just saying this is too hard because Divas existed, even though Red Hybrids was still one of the better decks of that format, and I believe I played the majority was Melga, or not Melga, Mirage. But I did play more Red Hybrids to come to that conclusion because I
Mhm.
like to flip flop decks, try to make it so it's not so boring every now and then. And yeah, I was just stuck in the Red Hybrid and Mirage train, and I felt really bad for my audiences because I'm just like, they're seeing me with the same deck again. And then I looked back and even just going through here and I'm just like, yeah, for like almost a year or like half a year, I've been literally playing the same like 2, 3 decks and I'm just like, wow, did Bandai like mess up or are these just that good?
A little bit of both.
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. Um, because I think like like BT 15 definitely seemed like it was a set that really didn't understand the power dynamics as well as BT 13. Like, I hold BT 13 in such a high regard, not because the meta was great or anything. Technically, BT 15 has the best meta after the bans and limitations. But from a design standpoint, I loved everything that BT 13 was doing. It felt like they really knew what they were doing and like compared to a lot of other sets and a lot of other metas like it really shows because a lot of the decks that I've been playing were from like BT12 BT13 so I don't know they did something good in BT13 to me
Oh
but
yeah.
yeah but I was actually going through my deck identity crisis um outside of BT11 when I realized I was forced to play the best deck of the format. I was actually having my deck identity crisis now in BT16/EX6 because I was just sitting there and I'm just contemplating like I could play literally the decks that I've been playing for the past year. There's nothing wrong with them. They're still perfectly fine and valid. Maybe Red Hybrid's a
Mhm.
little less so, but people are spicing it to be able to be competitive. But I didn't put that much effort into spicing it up. So I started off trying with Mirage because we actually had the anti redirector, so that way I can bypass blockers, which was
Mhm.
really good. And then I still have the bounce against Numemon to be able to try to out him. So I felt like I was in a pretty okay spot with Mirage for BT16, but I was really struggling because I was not finding BT16 to be fun at all, even on a deck I enjoyed.
That's fair. I think you know what deck I was playing for BT 16.
Imperial.
It's Black Numamon. No, I'm just kidding. It's both technically. Like Moonmon was more of the competitive deck I brought, while Imperial was the one I would still just play and test because it's just my favorite.
Yeah, the
Um,
new Imperial stuff is real good. Like the
mhm.
Davis Ken Tamer to just spit out free level threes is like absolutely cracked. That Tamer is insane.
Yep, and you can use it for Virus Imperial as well because that's what makes it better.
Yeah, and then when you DNA, you just get a gain of memory, or if you, or no, when you just digivolve, you basically just gain a free memory, which is ridiculous. And then
Yeah,
he
blue
can
green.
store strip if you DNA'd, which again is absolutely huge. Because it bypassed a lot of protections because it was saying, hey, I'm protected against Digimon. Well, are you protected against Tamers?
Source strip time.
Yeah, right. And then the level of aggression just kept going up and up and up because of the fact that the new one also like multi-attacks, and like the new one actually Imperial is what turned me off of Mirage to begin with, to be honest.
It's tough because the new Imperial, if you can put Dragon Mode out, you can pretty much make sure that trainings don't do a thing.
Yep.
The problem is sometimes Mirage is faster. So, and then Imperial has a booklet in their hand. If you can get to your Mirage before they can get to Dragon Mode, you're chilling.
Yes, and the other thing that turned me off was the fact that if they get into the new Pyildramon, it just turns off my OTK. So I literally can't do anything, and then bouncing, popping their partition to spit out the bodies, and then being unable to do anything about them was the worst feeling in the world for me, which is what turned me off of Mirage to begin with. Like, I mean, granted, this is just literally one specific matchup, and I shouldn't be writing off decks for it, but when I work myself up into a tizzy, I usually end up
That's
letting that stuff happen to me.
and that's okay. I think the Mirage and Imperial matchup closer than you think as well because let's say you partitioned, right?
Yeah.
You bounced it, got two little sources left. Even if you can your OTK is turned off, right? We know that. But you can still do some shenanigans where you can at least if you have the chance you can burst mode and bounce one of the level fours back to hand, right? And then even if you're not swinging, which you probably wouldn't because you want your Mirage to stay alive, but you're gaining a ton of memory. You can play down your Tamers again, set up for the next turn. And next turn, you'll be in your at the end of your turn, your burst mode will disappear. So BT11 Mirage is on the board again. So if they free play a searcher, their turn will probably pass because by then their hand's a booklet. You get what I'm saying? That's what
Yeah.
that's what I feel as an Imperial player versus Mirage. I'm like, oh crap, I can't
No,
play, I
it's
can't free searcher. I'm going to lose, so I have to be very careful.
yeah, it's a classic me not understanding the matchups ins and outs as well as I should, which made me feel very uncomfortable going into the format is because like I kind of knew what how to deal with Numemon, but Numemon was still kind of just faster. And then I felt like I had some good matchups into some of the other decks and then some really bad matchups because the level of protection was just getting higher and higher. So like the level of interactiveness was getting lower, and then I also realized like, oh, if they just have a good level 6 ace, I just die. Like because I
Yeah.
need to swing on my level 5s to get max potential, and I can very easily get punished for that because my 5 can't respond to their 5.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the classic case where I was lost. I did not know what to play because I was refusing to play some of the other decks because I needed to actually spend time to learn them. And in BT16, it was just back to back to back tournament. So I felt like I had no real break to be able to find my new deck that I wanted to play.
So what are you playing for your X6?
Well, if we didn't make it painfully obvious at the beginning of this episode, I played Numemon at a competitive event for the first time, and I got top 8 with it. So
Mm-hmm.
I guess competitively, I'm just a Numemon player now. I have officially converted to be degenerate. And I was practicing the deck in secret, thanks to the auto online sim. It just made it so much easier to rapid iterate and just get games in and just start practicing and grinding, that it made me feel a lot more comfortable on the deck, because I did try it in BT15 and I did not like how it felt in BT15 at all. None of the packages seemed like stellar to me, and I could not get the deck to work. Um
But,
and then
but now you did for EX6. Shout
yeah,
out
and then
to Long
EX
Zero.
yeah, a little bit of practice in EX6, and I feel like I have a really good understanding of the deck. Part of me was like, I guess you could say slightly inspired by Huang, where it's just like, okay, he comes in with Numemon and then just tears up an event, and I'm just like, cool. Is it literally that easy? So like that was part of the challenge, was to see if it was literally that easy, and I can't say it was. I definitely noticed playing Numemon in the event, there were opportunities I could have been playing better, which to me is crazy, because I'm just like, oh my god, I'm playing like a goon and I'm still doing this well. Imagine if I was actually good at this.
Or a slime.
So I was just like, wow, this deck is just that disgusting. And then it has a lot of the elements that I unfortunately like in like an aggro control deck, where I get to be hyper aggressive and then I just control the field for free. So it's to me it just felt like the complete package. It does have some really bad situations that I was caught in, that just again is partially why I didn't like the deck to begin with, but the majority of them are like ironed out as long as you are good enough at navigating how to get out of brick situations or working into the brick with the best tools that you have. So, are you
Exactly.
yeah, and you're still on Numemon, right?
EX6, literally the same decks as BT16. Like, this is one of the few formats where I didn't change a deck, I didn't change a card, nothing. I kid you not, I have no EX6 cards. Zero.
I'm slowly trying to buy them and collect them, but then like right now I'm actually just trying to collect them more than actually like buy them, because when I buy a card, that's when I use them. When I collect a card, that's when I'm buying to not use. And EX6 had so much promise and potential, but I look at the prices and the fact that I'm sitting here and I'm contemplating what kind of fun casual decks can I make. And then I'm looking at the prices and I'm like, it's actually cheaper for me just to build more competitive decks than it is to try to waste my time with casual decks. And like that's what's making it really hard for me to buy into EX6, is there's fun, but it doesn't seem good.
That's okay. But now you, at least you got your EX6 top.
Yeah, I always top like in the off formats, it seems like, because some people are expecting a meta change and like it's easier to read for the meta change, because I'm not going to sit here and say my deck is unique. It's not. It's just a Numemon deck that I decided to take out of ruin mode for a merciful mode because I was afraid of more purple. um did it happen? Yes. I was able to, against the Demon Lord player, bottom deck an Ogudamon, but it didn't matter because they had an Ogudamon in their hands, so they were just like, yeah, I
Oof.
already had both
Yeah,
Ogudamons. So it technically didn't matter. In the one instance, it would have been good. Outside of that, Omnimon just was a blanket removal card, and then if he stuck around, just a good burn card. Like, he didn't do that much. So it's not like my meta read was insane either.
that's okay. Worked out
Yeah.
in the end.
I mean, I don't know. I felt like I just gave up when I played Numamon. I'm just like, I was just so indecisive on what to play. Like, me and my whole team were right now, or they were, we were all kind of indecisive because we're just like, Do I play Imperial? Do I play Mirage? Do I play Tyrant? Do I play Numemon? Do I play like there's a lot of like out of the top 5 decks, we were all deciding on what we wanted to play and then we just couldn't decide, so I just gave up and I'm just like, look, I'm going to be the Numemon player. I'm going to be the villain. I'm going to prove a point. At least I hope I can try to prove a point that this is kind of stupid, this deck, and be able to top with it with very little experience or practice on it. I mean, I guess 2 months is enough practice or experience. Because how long have we had this? We've had this since BT15. So, and
Mm-hmm.
BT16. Because I really started practicing in BT16, the new Mimon.
I
So,
see.
however long BT16 was, that was all of the time that I actually was practicing new Mimon. Literally all of the time. So, but yeah, the deck is just cracked. Um, and we have what BT17 in like 1 or 2 months. Comes out in August, right?
Yes, it should pre-release is first week of August. Second week of August is official release, I believe.
Yeah, that's literally so we have literally 1 month of this format. I know it feels like it's going to be accelerated, but we're going to be sitting on this into August, September, October. So October is when uh, Special Booster 2.0 comes out. So
Mm-hmm.
we got about like 2.5 months of BT17. We have about like
We still have EX7, right? I think EX7 comes out first, then the 2.0.
oh, does it? I'm
I
so
believe
losing
so.
I'm losing my brain on just how they're handling these set releases because I
Yeah.
know EX7 is the anomaly EX set where it is just the extra EX set that's thrown in. I think EX7 was supposed to be like slot wise the RB1. So maybe that's like what's throwing me off. Because
Yeah.
it's funny that RB1 isn't even on here, but I really don't count RB1 as a format because it was mostly reprints, and the decks that did introduce were like barely meta relevant, like even less so than your average EX set.
Now
Because
we know for the future.
yeah, because RB1 came out in between BT13 and BT14, which was yeah around this time period because BT13 was the
Mm.
summer set last year. So yeah, EX. It would make sense that EX7 is taking the place of what would, in theory, be RB2
Yeah.
if we're even gonna ever get one. Wild. Yeah. I mean, it feels like things are accelerating, but they are trying to make it that way for unification, so that way by March next year, everyone is getting BT21 at the same time.
Yeah.
Which I think that's a
That'd be
great
cool.
number to unify on.
There you go.
So do you have your invite to Nats for? I think you do, don't you? Yeah, because you
I
got it in
do, because
BT
I won the
15.
purple Mimimon. Yep,
Yeah,
because I
you
won the
you
purple
got yours in
Mimimon.
BT 15 with Numemon, and I got mine in EX6 with Numemon.
Yep, one purple, one black, but all the same slime.
Yes. So, if you want, we could kind of wrap things up with the other meme of just talking about first deck, current deck, favorite deck, and hated deck.
Uh, I would say all of them Imperial, different versions. Hated deck would be Virus Imperial because I can't make it work consistently the way I want it to be. Excuse me.
Yeah, you're good.
But definitely all Imperials.
Yeah, I would say the first deck that I really was attracted to probably was Blue Omni. I didn't play it
Mm.
competitively, but it was like usually a good TCG player tries to have a deck in their back pocket, and even though I was on Titamon locking or trying to Titamon lock, Garurumon was in my back pocket. So that would be like my first deck. My current deck obviously is Numemon. because that's what I just topped with. And if I were to enter any other events, I don't really see a reason why I shouldn't play Numemon. Bandai
Yeah,
created these tools, and I'm going to abuse them until I can't anymore. And if that makes me a hypocrite because I hate it, fine. Because spoiler, just skipping ahead out of my favorite deck, my hated deck is Numemon because right now I think the deck is incredibly stupid. It's not very fun. It's not very fair for the opponent. Sure, it's fun for me because I get to beat their face in, but I know there's not a lot that the opponent can do once the engine starts revving. And yes, even though I am complaining about the deck actively, that doesn't mean that I'm not understanding where the faults are and why people have issues with it. Like, we all know just it has a slew of absolutely broken cards and combinations of cards. And as a person who needs to figure out where the balancing act is on what they could hit and what they reasonably need to hit, I need to play the deck and understand it at a higher level in order to firmly make that type of call and say, this is the problem. Because
yeah. So
otherwise,
we're
I'm
playing the
just
meta.
guessing.
We're playing the meta, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And then my favorite deck is. This is going to sound really bad. It's probably Mirage. Like, he's the deck I actually have been playing. I've played the most of compared to every other deck in the Digimon trading card history. Because I've played him for basically almost a year at this point, and he's still good. So I like him. He's a good boy. Mr. Punch Dog is definitely one of my favorite decks.
Nice.
So, out of your Imperials, I will have to ask. I'll elevate the question for you. Out of your Imperials, what's your favorite Imperial?
Of all like every iteration and version,
Yeah, like
be,
from when you played it to how it felt, what is your favorite Imperial?
nothing hits better than the BT5 version of Imperial because of Nidhogg. Honestly,
Yeah,
if I were to
using
rank them, that
BT3
would
to
be my
multi attack
favorite.
and then Nidhogg as the alternative top end.
Yeah, for BT5, that would be my personal favorite because that was a lot of good memories. But I did like the BT8 one, just when we're talking about just DNA being busted.
Yeah, I mean, right now people are finding success on using the starter deck one from BT8 to be able to like split out and then re DNA into a new Digimon just for extra aggression. And
Yep,
because we have like Imperial's so stupid on how many good tools it got compared to some of the other decks because you have the when I'm DNA digivolving, gain a memory. So it's like, oh, it's also doubling as like a memory engine on top of an accelerated aggro engine.
yes, so good.
So, but yeah, that's for the most part our little history on the Digimon card game and filling out that meme. If you want to fill it out yourselves, I don't know where the image is. It was somewhere on Facebook and Twitter, floating around. I'm sure it's there. But feel free to tell us what in the comments what your Digimon history is, or if you just want to keep it simple, your favorite, current, and hated and first deck. Because there's a lot of those memes out there, and I know it started with some other trading card games, and it spread to Digimon. But these memes are always fun to do because it really shows the insight on what players tend to like and enjoy and what they naturally gravitate towards. Because I'd say you're a fairly similar player to me in playstyle. You like your aggro decks that also have flexibility.
Aggro for sure, always.
And I feel like with Digimon more specifically compared to other card games, like this is just my perspective, it definitely feels like this game rewards aggro players way more than other card games. Like, do you feel that same sentiment?
Yeah, I like it. Well, I mean, I think you just also get lucky too, right? Sometimes a little bit of luck involved in being an aggro player, right? Especially in this game when your security has nothing. Great.
Yes, that's always the best feeling where it's just like, huh, That last check is cleared. Now I can stop sweating.
Yes.
But yeah, so thank you for coming on, Dan. Taking time off your busy schedule. I need to get you and Tyler into my rotation a little bit more, but I know sometimes lining up everyone's schedules is a little bit hard, especially when I know Tyler likes to play in certain events on Tuesdays sometimes, and we all have working jobs. But it's always nice having you guys on.
Thanks for having me. Can I give some shout outs before I go?
Oh, yeah, please feel free.
Shout outs to you for having me. Um, Shout outs to the squad, Guy Force Gaming, and Tyler, obviously. Um, Shout outs to Wong and Zero for the sim. Or without the sim, a lot of our testing would be possible, including yours, right?
Yeah, it
Um,
did help a lot. I'm not gonna lie. It's so addictive. Like just how fast and easy it is to get in and out of games. Like it's so addictive.
yes. And yeah, that's all my shout outs.
Yeah. So thank you again, Dan, for coming on for this special episode. I wanted to try to make this episode a little bit more lighthearted because I know I've been harping on the game pretty hard in the last couple of episodes, and you seem like probably the most chill guy to have this type of a conversation with. So
I try.
thanks for being you.
You're
Um,
welcome.
yeah. So, all right. With that, I want to thank you, the audience, for coming by and listening. If you enjoyed this episode and want to help support the podcast, please not only just always constantly set that reminder that new episodes come out every Thursday, but also share it with others on social media. It really does help be able to spread according to the algorithm. And we will see you next time.